Hey, it's Benjamin from Assembly Consulting. So you might find that your business just feels chaotic, feels disorganized, and things fall through the cracks, and it's really hard to grow because complexity is holding you back. It's just that you have to go in and fix stuff all the time, firefighting day in, day out. So a disorganized business is really harming both your peace of mind and your bottom line, right? So you want to fix that. Now there's a process that can be applied to any business to fix or to organize a disorganized organization. So let's dive right in. Step number one, define your processes. Sounds very simple, and technically also it is very simple, but doing that and carving out your time to do it is obviously a burden. But you have to do that. It's the first step. So you'll have to look at your core steps. There's the nice concept of value chain. There's value adding processes. This is what your client would pay you for if they knew you were doing it. And then there's supporting processes, which don't really add value for the client, but you still need them to run the company. So focus on the value adding steps first, right? So from client acquisition to onboarding to service delivery to, I don't know, customer support or whatever else you might have that is relevant for the client. Focus on mapping and defining these steps first, because this will be the baseline for anything else. If you like, also document them, but obviously that's even more work. But having a session with the team using a flow chart and just mapping out what the process looks like and get everybody on the same page of what the process should look like. Step number one. Step number two, now that you know your processes, you can list them in a form of inventory and basically in a spreadsheet, create a list of all the processes, and then in the columns, create a list of all the roles that you have inside your company. Now, this might not be one-to-one to people that you have in your company, because a person might be wearing multiple hats, right? So you as the CEO might be also the chief sales officer and chief marketing officer and the CFO. And at the same time, you might have roles where there's more than one person working on it. Think about content writers, paralegals, tax accountants, whatever it might be, right? So you might have not a one-to-one, but a one-to-many or many-to-one relation. So map the roles, not the people, in the columns. Now what you have is processes here, roles here, and now in the cells you can define who is involved in that process in what fashion, right? So this is called the RACI matrix: R for responsibility, A for accountability, C for consulted, and I for informed. And it will help you really get clarity on who's doing what in the company. And the outcome of that is a clear map of responsibilities that you then can also use to create job descriptions out of. We have a tool that we've developed that allows you to do that with the click of a button, so reach out if you're interested in that. But the RACI matrix is a great tool to really get the clarity. So that's step number two, mapping the organization against that. And then what you'll also want to redefine is the organizational structure right? If you're a smaller company, organizational structure shouldn't be a huge issue for you. If you grow to, let's say, 30, 50 people and beyond, obviously you want to think a bit more about how you structure the organization for collaboration. But also for that, the RACI matrix is a good starting point, right? Because you might see that somebody is responsible for a lot of things where a specific person is accountable. So you want to maybe put them into a direct reporting line. So be clear about the roles and which role is doing what. That's step number two. Step number three is, and that's a very easy one, but it's a game changer, use templates wherever possible, right? So templates are basically an expression of recurring work that you have. Could either be recurring deliverables or recurring processes. So if it's deliverables, create deliverable templates that you can use and, for anything, both client-facing and also internal. And the other thing for templates would be, if you think about your task management tool, your project management tool, build project templates for recurring client work, because typically 80% of the tasks that you have in any given client projects are recurring and are the same. So you could build out a template that includes these to make sure that things don't fall through the cracks. And the other beautiful thing about that is you now have a place to improve as you learn, right? Because if you learn something from a project, but there's no place to put that learning, but you just, it's gone, right? But if you have a template how you run your projects, if you have a template for a deliverable, you can immediately go there and change what you've learned to be better the next time. So that's the beautiful thing about that. Step number four, communication. Super important. So you want to think about, what's my meeting structure? Who's meeting who? And when, right? What's a team meeting? Are there one-on-ones in place? Do we need specific cross-functional meeting, for example, between customer support and product management, as an example? So you want to specify who's meeting and why, right? It has to be obviously as lean as possible, but also you do have to have the meetings that you need, right? So communication is key. You want to make sure that both strategic direction as well as tactical considerations are being transported to the right people constantly, right? It's not enough to communicate strategy once a year and then expect people to go, but you'll have to break that down, communicate constantly. People have to understand what it means for you as a CEO, but at the same time, you have to make sure that all the knowledge from day to day, things that work or don't work, things that need improvement, and feedback reaches people in time. So a good meeting cadence is a good thing. Meetings get such a bad rep, but that's actually not true. Meetings are a good thing if they manage well. The other part for communication is if you're in a remote setup, and even if you're not, manage synchronous and asynchronous communication. So what that means is you can't solely run a company by chat, or let's say many few people can. I've seen entrepreneurs that are able to do that, but you want to meet people with FaceTime. It could either be a video call or in person if you can, but you'll have to be mindful of what can be done via chat, via Loom, and what needs to be a face-to-face conversation, because you need immediate feedback, right? If you want to solve complex problems, immediate feedback is very critical. If it's more like something that is, as a briefing, as a response to something, and no immediate feedback is required, and also the information is not super ambiguous, then asynchronous communication, email, chat, etc. works well. So nail communication, that's step number 4. And then lastly, step number 5 is implement management systems and continuous improvement. So management systems includes everything that allows you in a managerial position to understand what's going on in the company. So we're thinking about KPIs, defining a few metrics for the company that tell you, are we on the right track, right? That potentially also measure your complexity and your disorganization. You could think about, time that we spend delivering on client work as compared to what we're billing, billable hours if you're a service business, these kind of things, but also obviously financial success metrics. So define your KPIs, have a good way of implementing strategy. So you want to think about tools like road mapping, maybe OKRs, to really consistently break down your strategic goals into actionable tasks. This is really, really important. So that's part number 2 of management systems. And then the last part of this 5th step is continuous improvement. What you want to accomplish is that everybody in your company takes ownership of the way they work and improve it if they feel it can be improved, right? So it can't be you driving all process improvements, at least not for a long time, because it's not sustainable. And as your company grow, you can't be everywhere at once, right? So what you want is there's a clear process in place for people to submit ideas for improvement. Could be as simple as a Google form that ties into a spreadsheet. And then you have a tracker where you keep track of these things. And then you want to meet regularly about these things, right? Every other week, for example, or once a month, look into the improvements that people have suggested and implement them. You also obviously feel free to be quicker if you have the time. The most successful entrepreneurs I know, they implement these feedbacks and improvements super quickly. But if you feel that it's a burden and you first want to get a hang of it, try to not overdo it and do it bi-weekly or monthly, where you sit with your team, discuss what they've identified with regards to potential improvements, assign these improvements to one of your team members, and then follow up in the next meeting to really make sure they're being implemented. If you do that for a while, your organization, your team will get a hang of it, and they will basically it will become second nature for them that their process is what they own and they have to improve it themselves. They can't wait for you to do it for them, right? So it's really a matter of having a structured process to get the ball rolling, and this will, after a while of discipline and effort, it will become second nature, and this will be a game changer for the company. Because think about it, if everybody in the company continuously improves what they're doing, there's no limit to what you can achieve, right? So these 5 steps, mapping your processes, being clear about the roles and responsibilities, using templates for both deliverables and projects, or communication, and number 5, management systems. These 5 steps will really, really help you get your company back into a structured operating model and to bust disorganization from your company. If you want to learn more, feel free to reach out to me at assembly.com. Also, there's a blog post that we're gonna comment on in the video. And yeah, very happy to hope and hear from you how this has impacted your company. Thanks. Bye bye.